Welcome back to part 2 on Preseason. Where were we? Oh yeah, of course, the Big 7, the new title for the Premier League's so-called 7 elite clubs. Whether they'll actually be the top 7 in the league next year is anyone's guess. But first, they've got a pre-season schedule that's more packed than a can of sardines. At the end of part 1, we started hinting at the lucrative nature of pre-season trips. Is money the main reason why teams travel far and wide in such a short space of time? Is this really good for anybody, bar the club's bank balance? What is the effect of all this on the environment? Let's find out. For the likes of the aforementioned Big 7, once the league season starts, there might well be a game every 3 days, with the travelling to and fro in between. There simply isn't much time for anything during the year to implement new philosophies or styles. Practice specifics or make key changes can be super challenging between games and trips. The pressure of the next game and the importance of the last result is always lurking, always there above all. Long journeys, injuries and suspensions all play a key part. So yes, pre-season without a doubt is crucial. It's the only 4 to 6 week period where a manager and his coaching staff has time to get everyone singing from the same hymn sheet and in tip-top shape. The friendly results don't matter too much, but the performances need to be going in the right direction. In July 2022, Liverpool beat Red Bull Leipzig 5-0 in pre-season and then lost 1-0 to Red Bull Leipzig a few days later. This summer, Liverpool and the Red Bull Group swapped players in various deals, a theme not uncommon between the clubs in the last few years. Undoubtedly, these boardroom relationships end up creating pre-season patterns and matchups too. The results of the games though, as we said, don't seem to matter or have an effect on the season. I couldn't care less how they are in the moment, said Klopp. They are tired and cannot be the best version of themselves, whilst talking about his players. Meanwhile, Pep Guardiola has commented on how he likes to use pre-season to watch young players integrate with the senior squad and get vital playing minutes. Another thing that during the season there is generally no time for. You cannot imagine how much I've enjoyed these 2 weeks with these guys. The young guys have desire. They open their eyes and listen because they have their whole career ahead of them. There are so many perspectives on pre-season, but they are pretty much all about how great it is to have some quality time with the squad. Why would they waste it all on flights across the globe? Yep, you got it. Money. Pre-season is a massive payday for the clubs. And for that reason, you will see pretty much every Premier League outfit travelling to Asia or the States every July. The importance of these pre-season tours was noted when the COVID pandemic meant teams couldn't travel. Manchester United were meant to head to India for a pre-season tour in 2020, but of course weren't able to. Their accounts showed a dip in commercial revenue of £50 million that year, and a seismic portion of that was attributed to an inability to go on the pre-season tour. You see, clubs like Manchester United or even Real Madrid get offered millions of pounds per pre-season game when they go abroad. No wonder they will try and pack 4 games in 4 cities into 2 weeks in the US. They might come out of that with 8 to 10 million pounds in the back pocket. It's vital income for clubs that can go into player wages or transfer fees, especially where income versus expenditure is being highly scrutinised by financial fair play. Football clubs are global names and brands, but they can only really make serious income in a few ways. Matchday revenue like ticket sales, merchandise sales, and of course the big ones, TV and sponsorship deals. Let's not forget how much these clubs need to fork out on wages at this level. Pre-season tours are key and the top level managers know it. Yes, of course they would rather spend 6 weeks at home training, but when they can't afford that extra player they need because they missed out on a lucrative pre-season tour, they might be the first to tell you that the tour is worth it. Clubs spend in the thousands and earn in the millions in just days and weeks when they go on these big trips. While they're there, as well as getting paid for matches, they clean up on commercial deals and finish sponsor obligations. Meanwhile, they give their club key brand exposure in key markets like China or the US and other countries. It simply has to be done. So what about the environment in all of this? We know that celebrity jet setters are playing their part in doing some serious damage to the planet, and that one of few positives during the COVID pandemic was a lack of planes in the sky. In fact, CO2 emissions declined by 17% during the COVID lockdowns. The temporary halt to many flights meant that air pollution dropped dramatically. So, are footballers' teams and clubs a part of the problem? Are these pre-season trips doing more damage than they are worth in more ways than one? According to Carbon Literacy, the global football industry produces more than 30 million tons of carbon dioxide every year, which is about the same as the total emissions of Denmark. However, according to a study done at Cardiff University, football grounds with their massive water use and high energy floodlights are the site of many of the main environmental impacts on most football clubs. The thousands of fans who travel to matches generate huge amounts of waste and carbon emissions, travelling to and sustaining their big day out. With this in mind, is pre-season just another drop in the ocean? The effect of big games and travelling teams in July obviously plays a role in the figures, but perhaps not as much as you might imagine in relation to the wider football season. Generally speaking, driving instead of flying can be 5 times less harmful for the environment, with relation to trips of around 200 miles or less. This distance is covered in many domestic and European Cup games across the football season. Do you think those teams always get the bus? Or do you think they get the private jet? It only takes a quick look on social media to see the amount of teams jetting about the place week in and week out to league games even in their own country. The reality of the long distances in pre-season means that buses and trains are not an option, and so maybe there is an argument that the packed season schedule does more damage than the odd summer trip. When UEFA and domestic schedules mean footballers are playing every few days, clubs want to travel as fast as possible in order to save recovery time. You might suggest that the frenetic scheduling encourages unsustainable travel, and with that in mind, the packed schedules are designed to squeeze as much money out of TV deals as possible. So maybe pre-season shouldn't take too much of the blame. Maybe it's UEFA's fault, maybe it's FIFA's fault, maybe it's the Premier League's fault. Do you think the big footballing institutions do enough and care enough about the environment? Football, as a gigantic cultural phenomenon, is now beginning to use its voice more. It has to strive to be a vehicle for sustainability, from encouraging fans and staff to walk to stadiums instead of use their cars, to making big tournaments and stadiums like those in Qatar in a new and more sustainable way. Do you think crazy pre-season schedules fly in the face of this new message and that something has to be done about it? So pre-season might be a bit of a bummer in a few ways, perhaps damaging to our environment and our player welfare. It shows football's focus on profit over other things. What a surprise. But is it a case of must do because of the challenges that clubs face? Does competition and scheduling have a serious effect on all of this? Whose fault is it? What are your thoughts on long-haul flights to LA and Singapore? Is it worth it for these football clubs? And remember, no comment is too outrageous. We're talking about football after all. Let us know below and stay tuned for the next video.